Let's wait a few seconds. Now, as the recording has started. Patrick, can you hear us? We see you, Patrick. You are on mute, Patrick. Now you are on mute, but we still cannot hear you.
Yes, we are just working on it. You get.
But now we can hear you. That's perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So we are complete and we can start the session. Thank you for you all. As I mentioned before, most of the people will be seeing us actually after this session. This will be what we call a fake live. So we record this session here and then a lot of participants will see it in the conference platform in a few hours. That's why, again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where are you seeing this session right now. I already say that this meeting will be recorded, but the chat will not be recorded, and the chat is actually our way of communicating with all of you. So we ask you to please write on the chat, even present yourself if you want right now. Let us know where are you coming from. Let us know as well if you know us already, if you're an active trainer of Alliance for Integrity, if you are a partner, or if it's the first time that you hear from us. About this session, this is for me a very special session because, of course, not only I am responsible for the training program, but I really believe the training program is the heart of our initiative. It's the first thing we start doing, and especially how committed our trainers are. It's really what moves us forward. And that is what we want to discuss and talk with you today, but also to discuss which new methodologies is out there for trainings, what we learned from this last 5 years of implementing the training program. And this is a little bit what we are going to have today. For those of you who are new, and it's actually the first time you are joining us, let me tell you shortly what Alliance for Integrity is. It's a global initiative, a multi-stakeholder looking to promote integrity in the economic system. And our training program is called From Companies to Companies, with a lot of short names in different countries. We have Duku in Indonesia, DP in Latin America, and others in India, Ghana. Each country has its own nice name, but the main methodology of the training program is to have trainers, experts from companies or organizations working on the topic of anti-corruption, and them with this business perspective. And that's why it's called From Companies to Companies. They are those who are making the trainings for companies just starting on implementing a compliance program. And this methodology is developed in a way that even very small companies or big companies, all of them can use this tool and implement this training program in their organizations. And the last point is, of course, our support desk. And that's where companies can make questions about implementation, and they can also use a lot of complement tools like the Integrity app, like online publications, online examples, and this is also part of the training program. But today we have, you are not here to hear me, but actually to hear our speakers. We are going to start the session with a very special guest, and I want to thank already Barbara Conner, CEO and Executive Vice President of the AHK Argentina. It's an honor to see you every time, Barbara. I worked before in the AHK, so it's always good to meet again. And Barbara, we invite you because the AHK Argentina was actually the first one in implementing the training program already a long time ago, at the end of 2014. And at that moment, I remember that not so many business associations were actually working on the topic. So my first question with you, Barbara, in this small interview is why? Why did you decide as AHK to invest your time, your resources in implementing this training program and working in this topic that was not a common thing at that moment?
Thank you very much, Carolina, for having me, for inviting me, and it's an honor for me because it's like seeing growing up a little baby that we really started, and actually you started with us, and now having partners and trainers and seeing the program growth not only in Argentina and the region but all over the world. It's really like having a child or looking a child growing up. So thank you very much. And the question, the answer is very easy, because we're really convinced that transparency and ethical business or ethical driven businesses are like tickets to global markets. And companies that are involved and committed with integrity always will have more success. So you can ask us why a German chamber in Argentina is so committed with this issue. Yes, it was a very new issue, and we were like a strange thing knocking on the doors of other institutions. But I repeat, we are convinced that the condition and the context for making business needs strong institutions, and to have strong institutions that are I'm sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish this morning. That this is the only way to have conditions and market conditions and also conditions in the society that helps to develop good businesses and create new opportunities.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I took from your answer this thing of strong institutions, but of course that is a huge task for a business association. No? So what do you think should be the role of business association in promoting this topic of integrity? What can business associations do?
What we see as a German chamber, not only in Argentina, because we belong to a network of 130 chambers in more than 90 countries. So what we always see in all countries, that you need strong institutions, as I already said. Strong institutions and chambers are references. They are stakeholders in society that can act like change makers and multipliers, and they really have to give a good example. So companies which are represented by a strong institution which represents transparency, anti-corruption, and ethic businesses will always have a different view on what is society and commitment on society and with society and its own commitment, because it's always very easy to point to the other, but we have to start ourselves. So this is why we are convinced that as Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we have to work on this issue.
And now that you're talking about starting from inside, no, from your organization, it was difficult for you to start working on that? It was easier? How was the feedback? Did the company say, Barbara, you are crazy? Why are you starting to work on this? Or how it was?
Yes, I was kind of like a pink dog or something like that when we were knocking on the the doors of some business associations, not so much for companies. If you're in a context which is macroeconomically very volatile, and especially SMEs always have a lot of preoccupations and sorrows and problems and challenges that are not transparency. So yes, it was not easy, but if you're very convinced of something, there are no barriers. So there are some of the associations that had certain concerns because it was a quite new issue in Argentina and in the region when we started this in 2012, actually 2011. So, and the very, very positive thing about this is that we see a lot of changes. So it was worthwhile, and we always focused on fostering the public-private dialogue on this and trying to offer them also like customer focused or tailor-made programs, and you cannot from 0 to 100 start with the collective actions because people actually did not know what was compliance about. So we started from 0, but everybody also in our context all in the private side and also on the public side had quite a good learning curve, I think.
Yeah, definitely. The first step is more than awareness raising, but there is a lot to go there and to do to really create capacities, not at the end in the organizations.
That's right.
And exactly, you already shared with us about the beginnings, no, about when you started with all this, but you are still an implementation partner of the Alliance for Integrity. You are still doing a lot and every day even more in the topic. What has changed from 2014 when we made the first training together with you until now? What has changed? What do you think?
I think the awareness it has grown a lot within all actors of society, companies, SMEs, big companies anyway, because they're working very strong on this on a worldwide level. But our focus has always been on the one side, the associations, business associations, because of their importance that I mentioned before, and the SMEs, because the SMEs, they cannot do it themselves. And it's not something natural or obvious. And our argument is always that that you need to have transparent, or you need to act transparently and ethically correct to make good businesses, because so this converts compliance in factor of competitiveness. So this is something that needs time, people to understand. But what has changed is that there's a lot of more, that people are a lot more conscious. There's a lot of more proactivity on behalf of our actors nowadays. Not only we have capacitated more than 600 SMEs within the support of all the volunteers trainers. I would like to emphasize this, that we could not, as an AHK, do this alone. We have great partners like AFEN, all the volunteers that have a lot of expertise. So we started with our Center of Competence some years ago, and now, because now as a chamber, we have our own expertise too. But we keep on learning. So I think there is a lot of more openness on behalf of lots of stakeholders. And this is like, you have to help me, Carolina. What is avalancha? It's like when you have a snowball, and then it becomes a lot of dynamic with when you have a lot of more partners that understand what's the importance about this. So, and I think this has really changed a lot. For example, we started knocking doors in 2012, and one of the partners that was not so interested in these days, to say diplomatically, was the Chamber of Construction, which everybody knows that construction all over the world is a quite complicated sector. And nowadays, the Chamber of Construction in Argentina is one of our most important partners, implementing the Passport to Integrity and DP, what is called the program here in Argentina, from company to companies all over the country. So I think this is a very very good example of what has been changing.
Yeah, definitely. So every time one new partner comes, it's not only that this partner is new in the network, but he brings with them all new approaches. No, they bring bigger things. They spread the voice also to others. So as you say, one thing, it's making everything actually bigger, and the impact that you are making in Argentina is really amazing.
I wanted to say something more, Caroline, because this is maybe something not so new, but another partner that helped us really a lot to have more impact in Argentina is the Global Compact Network. We're working with Global Compact Network Argentina since several years. We are also partner of the board of directors. And this is also a very strong partner that makes us more visible as an AHK, as the German Chamber of Commerce and Industry, because we have around 400 associates companies. So we're a multiplicator because we have strong partners and good trainers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barbara. Maybe one last short question, because in our network we have a lot of business associations. So what would you recommend to other business associations around the globe, what they can do to start working on the topic?
I think the most important thing is to be aware that corruption has a dual effect. On the one side, it generates inequity and inequalities in societies, which is not a good context to make business. And on the other side, it reduces the business opportunities. So I think this makes very clear that as a business association, you have to work on this issue. And to make a recommendation very on the operational side, go out, knock the doors, look for good speakers. Now we're still all in only virtual world, so that makes things easy. There are lots of people that are really experts. Don't be too academic, I think. I think this is maybe also a good recommendation, because if you want to talk to an SME, don't offer them a PhD, but look for somebody that makes it more tangible, that more touchable for an SME. Put yourself in the other person, so that makes you a lot more convincing to the other person. And be patient. Patient and insisting to cooperate, and always try to get in a dialogue also with public sector. This is transparency is a fascinating thing. And for example, we're now since 2 years not only working with companies, with the big ones, with the small ones, with private sector, and with the stakeholders in between, but we're also working with children. We started to everything during the last 12 months, when we were only on a digital mood in a virtual way, like a virtual classroom for ethics. And this is impressing. The question that it's not children, they are youngsters and teenagers, 15, 16 years old. But these are the people that in 10, 15 years will be the decision makers all over society. So these are the future change makers. So this is where we put like a little plant also already for the future. I think this is the most important thing I give like a message.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barbara. We will be following everything that the AHK Argentina will be doing. We are sure there are a lot of innovation and new things that you are implementing there. So we are following closer everything that you are doing. And again, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Okay, and have a successful event now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are going to go to the second part of our event. That is our panel with these trainers that we were mentioning already a lot, and they are, as I mentioned at the very beginning, they are really the heart of our initiative, and they are those that make everything possible. So for that, I want to first welcome the moderator of our session, that is Giselle Cabrera Torres, compliance officer from Banco Ecofuturo in Bolivia. We are not there in Bolivia yet, maybe soon, Giselle, with your support, but we are very happy that you are here, and thank you again for waking up so early. So I leave the floor to you. Maybe Patrick, if you want to turn on your camera, that's great. And for the participants, please make comments and questions on the chat. Giselle, the floor is yours.
Perfect, Carolina. Thank you very much for the invitation. For me, it's a pleasure to be here. This important event for us. As you mentioned, in Bolivia, we didn't have the Alliance for Integrity in the programs, but I hope we'll soon we have these kind of events in our country. Let's start with something that I present our panelists, our speakers. It's a great to have, and let me present our incredible panelists. At first, I want to present Patrick Bouassi. I think I pronounced the last name the way right. He's managing director of the Kenny Corp Limited Ghana. He's a judge and the best of the trainers of Alliance of Integrity Africa in 2009. So I want to present also to Royana Lim. She is Executive Secretary of the Bhumishkara Foundation, responsible for the coordination of workshops of ethical leadership, certified in anti-corruption training, and the Corruption Eradication Commission in Indonesia. It's a pleasure to be with her. Mariano Goffman, he's a compliance officer of Siemens Chile. He's a trainer of the DP Project Alliance for Integrity. And we have Alexander Serpa. He is author of a lot of books related to compliance. He is also creator of the board of the games that simulates the management of a compliance program. He has more than 20 years of experience in corporate governance issues, auditing, risk management, internal control. So we have incredible panelists today in our session. And I just, yesterday, I request to our panelists for one word to describe this side event for them. The words were trust, probity, integrity, different, and also strong words for us. These kind of words, maybe it's different for us, maybe it's equal for us, but I think it's important to remind us. So I think we can start with a key questions for our panelists, that it's, why did you decide to join the Alliance for Integrity as a trainer? Maybe we can start with you, Mariano.
Okay, thank you, Giselle. This is a great honor to be here and to be part of this huge community and network. Well, as a compliance officer of a multinational or international company like Siemens, it is always more than welcome or more than important to be able to level playing field in all the stakeholders, customers and also suppliers. Usually our suppliers are small and medium enterprises, and of course it's not possible to have a compliance department or area by their own. So I think this program, DEPE, in Spanish, or company to company in English, you can train them, you can advise them, you can use the good time or our learn and teach them. And I think this is the starting point, no, to this journey for them. Then another thing that it's great is that you can be a mentor for them, no? And you can continue working with this company, trying to add more value added to their program, no? Because at the beginning, the DP start with a small program, with a small training, and then you can continue with them. So I think it's quite good, and again, it's an honor for me to be part of this, and it's really good that we can all speak the same language on these integrity issues.
Perfect. Thanks, Mariano. Royani, what was unique, and maybe we can explain for us this kind of experience for you?
Thanks for the question, Giselle. And thank you to Alliance for Integrity to have me here with this distinguished panel. It's a great honor for me. When I first joined the training, I got some very good positive impression about the workshop the Alliance for Integrity trainers. Some of them are similar with what we do. First of all, it's totally free for the participants. So it makes the workshop affordable to the targeted participants, which are SMEs. Second, I got a chance to meet trainers who are professional in their own fields, people who deal with the business ethics in their daily works. Most of them are compliance officers. I think this is make the workshop unique because it offers the real and practical things to the participants. And the trainers are all volunteers. Third, the training use case study to explain about corruption in business. I think it's more related to the participants. Or in the future, I think it can be more customized to the background of the participant. And lastly, at the end of the training, we encourage collective action from the participants. As they have a common background as SMEs, they can relate to each other. They can do the networking, and as a community, they can speak louder. You are not alone. Let's fight corruption together. Maybe let's refuse to be extorted. Let's stop giving gratification. And one more small thing that I found it's interesting about Alliance for Integrity is the name, Alliance for Integrity. Not Alliance for Anti-Corruption or Alliance for Fighting Corruption, for instance. For me, for Bhumik Sara Foundation, integrity is more broader and not just about corruption. Thank you.
Thanks, Royana. Alexander, maybe about your experience as a trainer, as an author of books. We can hear you. You're mute, Alexander.
Maybe she said you can pass to the other.
Yeah, maybe Patrick.
Yeah, also mute, Patrick. That's the phrase of the year.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Giselle, and then greetings from Ghana. I grew up learning to appreciate the value of excellence. And then coming from the background of a blue chip companies, the likes of GSK, Rothmans International, GlaxoSmithKline, and then SmithKline Beecham, NS Chemist, among others. I got to know about the launch of Alliance for Integrity somewhere 4 years ago through AHK platform. I got myself registered as a participant and at the same time as a trainer. So the following day, I was asked to do a presentation. The following day we did the trainer section, and I was asked to do a presentation on compliance formation, and then also the commercial aspect of how punishment and rewards are established for any company that institute a compliance management system. By the end of the program, I saw myself selected as the trainer. Well before the end of the program, I got my thinking in line with the aims of the initiative, that is promoting integrity among companies, their business partners, and other relevant actors in the economic space. So that for me, it's a very welcoming platform. And then looking at my background, that is what interests me a lot to do. So I enrolled, and I was teaching and training till date, which are very interesting. And till that time, and now it has been very good. When you talk about uniqueness of the program or the initiative, I think one thing that makes the big issues for me is the multi-stakeholder initiative between multinational companies, civil society, public organizations, and international institutions. And also awareness creation, how they use transparency details, ways to prevent corruption, international stakeholder strategies, and idea sharing among all these people and institutions. Another interesting thing to look at is multi-domestic approach that we use in learning and teaching, thinking globally and acting locally, and then sharing of excellency among regional blocks. Then also you can talk about awareness creation, and then the tools that we use in delivering teaching and learning, like the Integrity app, No Excuse for Corruption manual, which is periodical. And I would say that that is a ready reckoner available for people in business to use, because in this manual you will see the write-ups concerning people who have had troubles with corruption issues before, and then the way they went about mitigating them, and so on. So for me, these are very clear-cut issues. Then also thinking about the International Steering Committee membership. You talk about Transparency International, the OECD, and the likes. So for me, it has been a very satisfying and rewarding journey with Alliance for Integrity. And summing up, I would say that individuals like me and you, wherever we find ourselves in, and for the companies that we work for, becomes the common element for which corruption practices strive. And for us to mitigate these things, we need to look at it carefully and then put ourselves together in our journey of cutting this monster called corruption. You could think about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Well, now we have Alexander. Okay, maybe we have some troubles with the
Maybe Alex,
sound.
you can try to go out and go in again, because we cannot unmute you. We can mute you, but not unmute you. And then in the meantime, Giselle, you can move forward.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So Patrick, well, we continue with you. With the last year of the pandemic made some changes in our priorities and the way we work and the make of integrity trainings. In Ghana, a prevention of corruption training for the healthcare sector took place. So what were the main challenge of that training?
Well, you'll all agree with me that the pandemic issues became global issues and then have individual effects on every country. Workforce dwindling down to a certain minimum number, and then the hours of working also reduced minimally. People working from home and then having disturbances, managing office time and then the training time was the issue. And then the health workforce was also tasked to be responsible for ways to mitigate these pandemic issues, deploying them at the hospitals, the airport, and other entries within the country. So it became a very big issue how to gather these people and so on. In planning this, the difficulties is number one, registering, getting people to come over to register, because we are used to face-to-face issues, meetings and so on, programs. And the pandemic also removed this travel aspect of it. People want to travel to programs and so on. So it doesn't become an appetite again because the travel part of it is out. And another issue is the ICT connectivity, data usage, and then the electricity, constant electricity for the establishments to use is also a major factor. Then people will be thinking on the program day or the training day, will I be having a problem with connectivity? How can I have a very smooth data usage? And the cost involved in buying data in Ghana, it's very high. Now, the decision to decide who to go becomes a budget issue, who to attend the program, and so on. Then the membership of people who are going to come. There is no appetite because there is no physical contact and people are not going to see their friends and so on. So all these factors became a mitigating factors against planning for a digital program in Ghana. And I believe we are not the only people, but some other countries are also experiencing. But along the line, we are trying to come out of it because without the pandemic, this will become a new normal way of doing business. And I think it's high time we all embrace it and use it as a new way of working.
Perfect. Thanks, Patrick. So, Mariano, as your experience and the training that you give to the people with the public and private sector cooperation, we know that it's a key to achieve a level playing field and to promote integrity. How do you think the experience of the private sector of integrity can be used on training for the public sector on state-owned enterprises?
Yes, well, this is a good question because in DEPE we always work with the private sector, no? Private companies to private small or medium companies. I always like to say that the corruption not distinguish if it's private or public. No, it's everywhere and it's everyone's responsibility. So starting from that point, we working with the public sector for us, we have several challenges, no, to comply. There's a lot of terms and words that we use in the private sector, but the public change that. Or another thing is the structure. They don't have compliance officers, for example. They have audits or controllers, or so we have to establish that balance, you know, in order to make a correct way to understand and it was a very good exercise. No, today with the international law and the very connected world, I think the public sector is also up to date. It's not that we have to say, hey, we the private companies know more than the public sector's company. But in that case, at the beginning, here in Chile, as an example, we work with the Comptroller General of the Republic of Chile, the audits, the government audits, we can say that, and the UNCAC group, the anti-corruption in Latin America group. I don't know, Caro, if I can say UNCAC table, because it's Mesa UNCAC, but...
yeah. Or alliance.
Well, alliance, exactly. We have a very good collaboration and interaction. We adapted the DP material, the company-to-company material for the public sector. Really was several meetings because they think that they have a lot of papers or compliance topics done, but it wasn't like this. The public sector at the beginning, in this case in Chile, they thought that they have a lot of things, but they have to learn a lot also. And it was a very good exercise. Then we performed several trainings to them, to the state companies, and it was very good result and feedback from them. We were exchanging ideas, ways to understand compliance, and of course put this in practice. I think it was a really good best practice sharing at that time. Here we have a lot of huge state companies like Metro or the underground or the trains, or also a lot of internal ministries, and they wanted to learn more about these topics. And then of course we continue talking with them. Because the private sector always sells projects to the public. So in this case, we perform another collective actions situation and practice to them, and we have several chats, several groups for sharing ideas, and again, it's not like for the public or for the private. No, we are the same way going to fight against corruption. So I think it was a very, very, very good experience, and of course we have to replicate it in all the places and countries. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Mariano. Royani, as the social society and the foundation that you are executive, the key of the plate of fight against corruption, how do you think the civil society could be involved in prevention of corruption training?
Well, thank you, Giselle. Yes, civil society have a very strategic role in fight against corruption. There are several ways of involvement, such as education, research or awareness raising, monitoring also. In formal education, several campuses in Indonesia have anti-corruption subject, and many have business ethics subjects. In monitoring, we have Indonesia Corruption Watch. In raising awareness, there are some institutions that conduct anti-corruption or prevention of corruption trainings. Bumi Sara Foundation is one of them. We conduct ethical leadership workshop, that's what we call, for schools, universities, religion institutions, such as dioceses and NGOs also. And since 2 years ago, we began to do it for private companies. Our model consists of 4 steps, so experience, analysis, reflection, and action. It is designed for making people more sensitive and bothered about their personal integrity, and then more involved and take action in fighting corruption. As Delia Ferreira said yesterday, integrity beyond compliance. That's why we focus on integrity, not just on how people complying the rules, not just not doing corruption. Yeah, we believe if people have integrity, we don't need to worry about compliance. In business ethics, we learned it's not law enforcement that makes society work, but ethics. Law enforcement is important. It's needed to take care of some people who don't get the message. And ethics is of course related to conscience and integrity. Maybe just an example. We have conducted several ethical leadership workshops for teachers. In experience session, a teacher share about getting gift from students' parents. It's a common practice in Indonesia. The question is it ethical or can it become a corruptive action? After the participants, the teachers, discuss about it, analyze and reflect about it, all of them agree that it could become a corruptive action. So it's better to refuse it. It became the action plan. Then after that, the school management can set up compliance about gratification from the students' parents, and it applies smoothly in that school. That's just, I think that's a lot that civil society can do. It's just one small example for it. Thank you, Giselle.
Thanks, Marianne. Well, I have a question, Marianne, for you here. The question is, there is a best practice example of how cooperation with the public sector can look? Or
I think I did it. Maybe Alexander, but I think Alexander is with the computer problem. So maybe we can continue with the other questions, or I don't know if someone in the people has more questions in the chat.
Yeah, there was one comment actually about other questions, other examples. So you share, Marianne, the example from Chile, but is there other examples as well of cooperating with the public sector in Ghana or Indonesia? Who wants to jump in? Patrick?
Yes. Yes. Caroline, can you come again?
Best practice of cooperation with the public sector in your countries.
Oh, yes. The public sector, for me, I think the public sector becomes the main factor or actor when it comes to corruption practices. But you may find some people disagreeing with you because they are the holders of regulatory issues. And then mostly you find us, the private sector, going to them for these regulatory clearances in their businesses. And we get the difficulties from them. But one thing the government is doing to mitigate some of these challenges in businesses is trying to put rules and laws together so that it can minimize some of these challenges that the private sector becomes trouble with whenever they are in their way to perform their businesses and so on. So the rules, the institutions should be seen working now, and also they should adopt some kind of punishment and reward so that people could have appetite to do the right thing by applying themselves properly so far as those business excellencies are concerned.
Thanks, Patrick.
Giselle, there is one more question here in the chat. It says, can you reach most of the people attending the trainings, or do you feel that some participants are just sent there because their companies feel they should do it? That's a quite interesting question.
Sure. Maybe Royani?
Thank you. In my experience, and frankly, I don't have a lot of experience with as a trainer for Alliance for Integrity. If a participant are sent by company, it will become a problem. Yeah, but in my few experience with Alliance for Integrity trainer, I don't get the experience, so thanks God. I think they are quite they very positive impression, and they quite join with enthusiasm. So I think we're lucky. I'm lucky so far. Yeah, I hope it will continue. For the SMEs. In Indonesia, the SMEs, it can be a very small, really small companies, and that's what we targeted in Indonesia, as far as I know. Yeah, and I think they really get benefit from the trainings, and they, as I say, they related to each other. They become one community, something like that. Thank you.
Thanks, Royani.
Can I add something to that question?
Sure, Mariana.
I think it is a cultural thing. No? If the company wants to make this change, no? and put the values and the transparency and integrity from the very beginning of their business, I think it's quite good that they can send the people to this training. But if they are sending just to show that they are trying to do something in brackets, just to put a photo or a newspaper, I think we have to deal with that. We here in Chile, or where I perform trainings in several countries, and I think that the companies who are sending people to these trainings, they want to learn. They want to be part of this. If not, they don't waste time doing or sending the people. So, and if we receive some people who is there because their boss sent it to the training, we try to make this training in a very close and in a very easy and easy way. Sorry, to cap their attentions. So I think it's a good question, because the small enterprise, medium enterprise, not always wants to be, or they don't have the resources of this. So I think it's quite good that they want to be part of this kind of trainings.
Yeah. Thanks, Mariano.
Can I add some few lines to that?
Yeah, of course, Patrick.
Yes, for the training for SMEs, it should be something that should cover most objectives, like what is corruption, and then how does it affect their companies. Then what are the common risk factors, inherent factors, and so on. Then how can they go about it? Then alongside, this is between the trainer and then the participant. The trainer should have an open mind, because being judgmental will not help the program to go on properly. And then you should realize that once it becomes a new area, or the first timers are becoming participants, so they are going to hear some revelations from each other that will be very shocking to them. And for that matter, this should be managed properly. Then the learning should also be seen as a conversational platform, not a lecture form. And time management also should also be looked at properly and keeping to the agenda. Then in the training, you see that the group exercise are much more engaging, and for that matter becomes very practical of nature. So those things should be looked at properly so that by the end of the day, you don't overstretch the program and then just let the participant benefit just a few things. And then the involvement of the 3 steps approach, where the international, the internal and external, and then the use of the common front to collective actions to mitigate any corruption issue that is coming into the business front. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. And I think the result is not a short time, right? It's a long time. It's a long time. So that's why we need to make this kind of trainings for SMEs, because we need that kind of things. The results is not a short time. It's a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. So maybe. Carolina, maybe we can share that last recommendation for our panelists related to development their internal compliance training and for the first time.
Yeah, maybe one last sentence for each of you before we close the panel, but very short, something that our participants should keep in mind. Yeah. Who wants to start?
Okay, I can start.
Thanks.
Okay, this is for the SMEs companies or enterprise. I think they always have to be very good listener. They have to feel the temperature and the culture inside the companies before starting this training. Then, of course, they have to generate the necessary trust, and to try to make on board everyone, not only the management, the middle management, and also the other part of the companies. So you have to invite the management, of course, to establish the tone from the top there, and this is the way that we are going to establish the values, and of course, then you have to generate some integrity times, for example, in your meetings, to break the ice, not only safety moments or not only talk about the news. You can establish integrity times or integrity moments for the beginning of the meetings, and I think it's quite good. Another thing is not use the papers or theoretical examples. Use the day-to-day examples. You can use a lot of examples used from your countries, for the past, for the experience, how the companies, for example, Siemens, passed a very bad or had a very bad past, and today we have a very good present, looking for the future. So I think these are some tips that they have to take in consideration for starting the trainings. But it's not only the training. If you want to change the culture inside your company, it's a complete program. Trainings, consultancy, advisory, the structure. Someone has to deal with these subjects or topics, not only the general manager or the CFO or the legal part or the HR. I think you have to analyze what you want to do to change the mind inside the company, and then of course try to start the trainings. Trainings is the 80% of our business as a compliance officer is preventive. So the trainings is part of the preventive side. So it's a complete picture, not only the training. But I think this is something that you have to have in your mind. Trust everybody on board. Invite the management to have the tone from the top. integrity time or moments, and then of course use examples. Thank you for inviting me to this panel.
Thanks, Mariano.
Yeah.
Royani? Oh, Patrick, yeah.
Yeah, I would want to say that any company, big or small, who wants to make a mark in the business front should be ready to practice good corporate governance by adopting prudent supervision to curb in any corruption practices that may come their way, so that they can make a mark in the business front.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
Thanks. Royani?
Thanks. Just a short. In our experience conducting ethical leadership trainings, like Patrick said, involvement, Mariano said before, involvement of all elements from top management to the frontliners can increase enthusiasm, and it also builds a relationship in the organization. So if possible, involve all in the training. If the decision about compliance rules come from the floor, people are more likely to respect and they know the moral reasoning why they have to comply. In the training, treat all indifferently. Everyone has a voice and engage them in discussion and presentation. And lastly, invest in a good training, not just fine, but have to be fun too.
Thanks, Royani.
Yeah, thank you very much to you all. We ask those of you who are not a speaker to turn off the camera so we can focus on our panelists. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much, Giselle, for your moderation. Thank you, Roshani, Patrick, and Mariano. It was really a pleasure to hear you. And now for closing this session, I want to ask you two things. On one hand, if you can answer in the chat, because there's a few questions that we were not able to answer. So please feel free as a speaker to talk with the participants in these last 5 minutes that we have. And also I want to share now the floor to Faiza Hassan, our focal point of Alliance for Integrity in Indonesia, that will finish this session presenting a new video created by the trainers in Indonesia on healthcare sector. So Faiza, if you want to share this new tool with us.
Thank you very much, Caro. So the awareness raising videos in the healthcare sectors are developed jointly by the Duku trainers from Indonesia and Vyapase Vyapako trainers India. As we know that the healthcare plays a very important role, especially in this time of pandemic. So the videos intend to raise awareness regarding the negative impact of corruption in the sector. The message include importance of business integrity, compliance, transparency in the healthcare sector. So I will now share the.
Did you know that poor choice of medical equipment can endanger the lives of healthcare worker or patient? This is a story about Jessica. She is currently the sales manager for False Pharma that sells personal protective equipment, PPE. PPE has become a highly needed medical equipment in the middle of COVID-19 conditions. Jessica receives information that one of the privately owned hospitals is conducting a tender for PPE procurement. Since PPE is in high demand, the hospital rushed the tender and failed to perform adequate quality checking on the quality of the PPE offered by False Pharma. Jessica took advantage of the situation. She bribed the hospital's procurement to favor them in the tender. To reap higher profits, she also supplied PPE with low standard quality. In the end, False Pharma won the tender. False Pharma supplied for all PPE needs for the hospital. Richard is one of the doctors at the hospital. He complained to the hospital that the PPE are of very low quality. It tears easily and the size is too small. Due to urgent need, and since the PPE are already ordered in large quantity, Richard and the other doctors have no choice but to use the PPE to handle COVID-19 patients. Until eventually, Richard and several other doctors were infected by the COVID-19 virus from the patients they were handling. This is due to lack of protection from the PPE they were wearing, allowing the virus to infiltrate their bodies. The hospital lost most of healthcare workers capable of handling COVID-19 patients, since they were also infected due to poor quality PPE. Previously, other patients were also infected by the sick doctors. This story would have had a 180-degree difference in ending, if only the hospital and supplier had integrity and transparency in performing the tender and providing the best products. Integrity and transparency are required in all aspects. With strong integrity, the vendor should not have given gratification and benefit to the hospital's procurement division, so that the tender can be performed fairly, transparently, and with maximum results. Furthermore, vendors are supposed to provide the best medical equipment according to the contract, not by decreasing the quality to gain more profit from the price margin. If everything was done based on compliance, then the performance of the hospital and healthcare workers would be optimized so that the patients and the healthcare workers would have been spared from COVID-19. Not just Richard, millions of other patients and healthcare workers would have been saved by implementing integrity and transparency in the healthcare sector.
So that was one of the 3 videos that has been developed, and you can check the other 2 videos in YouTube channel of Alliance for Integrity. And thank you very much. Now back to you, Caro.
Yeah, thank you very much, Faisal. This is an example on how the trainers keep working not only during the training program, but actually afterwards in these complementary tools that are so important, especially in these challenging times. So we are already 10 minutes late, so we leave you to go back to your work in this hour or have a lunch regarding where are you right now. We are moving forward with more activities and agenda in the Global Conference of Alliance for Integrity today in the afternoon. For the trainers present, we see you in 50 minutes. For the other participants here, we see you in the afternoon for 2 side events, one on gender and integrity and another one on digitalization. So thank you again, Roshani, Patrick, Mariano, Giselle, and Barbara for your amazing participation today, and have an amazing day.
Thanks, Carolina. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, and thanks for the participation of the public.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.